Stay tuned, everybody, because it's time for the Playin on Music Row podcast with your host, Fran. Heard each week on this station. And now, here's Fran.
Well, welcome everyone. Today we're proud to have Tim McGeary, a great songwriter and artist, playing on Music Row today. Thank you for joining us, Tim.
Oh, hey, thank you so much for having me, Fran. I'm so glad to be here. It'd be great.
Yeah, well,
So,
it's a real pleasure. Well, you grew up and you actually had nine siblings, right? And
I
I'm just
did.
curious, are there others that are into the music business? Or
No, I'm the only one. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of history. Like my great grandfather, pitcher, who like he was like 95 when I was five. And he saw Lincoln. Okay, that's how old he was. He actually saw Lincoln as a boy.
great
I was like,
story.
what? Yeah, but he started one of the first all women's orchestras in Ohio, and it was an all women like band. And he played his violin all the way till he was 95 years old. My mom was pianist. My grandfather, who passed away when I was young, but he was in a band called like the Four Grads, a singer, and he was on the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. Remember that? That was
Oh,
probably like sort of like what like American Idol is back then. And they won. They were really good singers, but they didn't want to do it for a living, so he became a dentist. So and but he could sing and played multiple instruments, and then my aunt was a singer. So I have a lot of musicality come from that part of the family, and I just love music, and that's the thing. So I just love what it does. It's the thing that connects to everybody. I mean, I did some touring last year in Europe. I played in Czech Republic and Scotland and Germany and uh, Portugal, and it was people like sometimes they understood what I'm saying, sometimes they didn't. But it's just like everyone just it just puts people together. It's so great. I love that. And I did a lot of shows when I was in the band The Rescue. Well, we'll go through that thing, but you get 50,000 people in a crowd, and everyone has different like religions or races or blah blah blah. But when the music comes on, everybody's one. Everybody's watching the music, digging the music, singing along with the songs. I mean, how powerful, how beautiful that is. You know what I mean? And that's to me, that's probably one of the things I love the most. I don't know. So
well, that's a good. I never thought of that before, but that's wonderful. That's very true.
yeah.
When did you begin writing and playing and performing your original songs?
Way young. So, uh, when I was about 6 years old, my mom and dad started giving me some piano lessons, and so my teacher, like, I did my little lesson, and then I said, and I wrote this, and she's like, what? I wrote this song. She's like, you wrote a song? I go, yeah, and I said this little chorus and stuff, and then I played like some original music, and then I was in this band called Kairos back then when I was like 17, which is the Greek word for Christ, and it was like sort of we used to do rock masses, so it was sort of funny, but the thing was to try to get kids coming back to church. So what we did is, but the exit hymn was "Soul Sacrifice" by Santana, down, 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 down. But the kids loved it, and they came to church, and we had a good time. But we used to write, we did some covers too, but we also wrote our own music too, and that was really great. And that's what I think got the bug, just like to write my own music, and I never stopped. So like, and it's progressive, and it's you're always learning in this profession. Um, when I came to Nashville, like what, about 12 years ago, and I went up there, and it was funny because I was a songwriter. I had two solo records. I had records. My songs have been on TV shows and movies, and I've had record deals. Oh, I'm a songwriter. Oh my God, was I schooled? I mean, it was like,
Yes.
these guys in Nashville are like seriously great songwriters, and so luckily I made some good friends. And it took me about 2 years, like coming up there on a regular basis, to really sort of get it. And it was funny. There's a guy named Mike Kinnaman, and it was funny. He was a publisher, and so when I had it, I was doing like a festival in Nashville, like just my first time here. And I called Mike up and I said, Mike, I said, and I had sent him some songs before, and he wasn't really too impressed. I went, okay. So I said, can I come in? He goes, okay, you can come on in. You got 15 minutes. I went, okay. So I come in, he goes, okay, get a guitar off the writer's room wall. You can play me one verse, one chorus, or one song. Go ahead. So I have this song called Hole in You, and it's really pretty. And he let me play the whole song. And then that night, he took me to this party at this guy named Buddy Brock. Buddy Brock, he's written some classics like, Watermelon Crawl and, and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. Kenny Chesney stuff. He's just the nicest guy. We've written together actually ourselves. And so the and who's there? Dobie Gray was there, and it was like all these like huge producers, like like some of the hottest producers, like in Nashville. I'm like, oh, my wife's like going, and they let me play. Carol's, my wife's going, you gonna play? You actually play that song? I go, listen, I got a chance. I'm just gonna take it. So and so I made some really good friends, and guys, and he sort of guided me through the process and the learning. And now I'm like, I'm writing with some guys that are like, huge hit songwriters like Win Varble or Chad Sanford, and Gary Hannon, Dave Gibson, wrote a bunch of songs with him, and these guys have had like, Dave Gibson when Ships Come In, one of the most greatest songs I've ever heard. Play
Hmm.
Win Varble, he wrote like, Waiting on a Woman and that, Chad Sanford, he wrote like Missing You for John Waite. So, and these are the guys I'm writing with now. It's like, but I had to get to, and when you go to Nashville, you have to get your A game going. So either you you try it and then you go, this is not for me, and you go home, or you sit there and you keep yourself open, keep yourself humble, and shut up and listen and learn, and then you start bringing stuff. So what I try to do with songwriting is, every time, like, always show up on time, always 15 minutes early. I'm famous for that. Either, aren't you early? Yeah, I'm early. So, and always bring something to the table and always be there. And
Hmm.
so I have a good name of like, if I'm going to do a co-write, Tim's going to bring some ideas, he's going to have some choruses, some musical ideas, stuff like that. He's going to be on time and we're going to get something done and we're going to finish the song. And so after, 10 years of that, I have, there used to be a place called Belcourt Taps. Do you remember Belcourt Taps?
I sure do. I've been there many times.
Yeah. I used to I had my writers' night there all the time, and uh, and oh, and the sad thing, Ben, the sound guy, passed away. That was at Belcourt Taps. Do you know Ben?
I didn't.
Kind of,
I didn't know that he passed away.
yeah, he had a motorcycle accident. He was a
Wow.
really great guy. But so so I said, yeah, it was to have a thing. I have this little tattoo. It says 26 and 12, and people always think that I go, what is that about? I go, well, as a songwriter, we get to use 26 letters in the alphabet and we get 12 notes because there's only 12 notes at a different octave, but that's it. And that's your canvas. Those are the colors you get to work with. So now you got 26 letters, Tim, and you got 12 notes. Now write song that's something different, that's a little bit, that people can understand, that kind of stuff. And so I used to have the 26 and 12 night at the Belcourt Taps every time, a couple of times. And it was always a great night because I'd have like, big hit songwriters come in and then
Yeah.
young guys that were new. But what happened was like, the older guys had the experience, you know what I mean? And the younger guys had the energy. So it was like together they did really good. So, put it together. It was fun. And we had some good nights there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The last time I was there was with let's see, Stan Webb and Tommy Barnes. We're playing there.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
oh yeah.
because yeah, it was
Nice. Yeah.
around that my friend that Jan Dyer put together. I'm sure you know, probably know Jan. I don't know if you remember
Mm-hmm.
her.
I've heard that name. I,
Yeah, well,
I s-
she wrote Every Time Two Fools Collide. She was one of the writers on that.
oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
awesome, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, but yes, I know they used to have great writers at Belcourt. Um, where do you, because you mentioned you bringing ideas to the table. Where do you find you get your ideas for songs?
Well, okay. There's a funny song on my album. It's called "Feed That Dog." My friend got
Mhm.
married. This is a true story. So his old grandma, she's like this old country girl. Like she's like 95. She's like, she goes to the new bride. She strolls up there in her, with her walker, got a little, bun on, little white bun. And she's like,
Yeah.
now, darling, she goes, you want to have a long and happy marriage? And of course, the new bride's like, well, my friend's wife goes, well, yes, ma'am, I do. She goes, well, honey, I'm going to tell you the secret. She goes, well, what is it? She goes, you got to be good to your man because you don't feed the dog at home, he'll be digging in the trash. I went, oh my God. I go, Grandma, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. So I had to write it down, and I wrote that with Buddy Brock, the guy that wrote like Watermelon Crawl.
Yeah.
And I heard the story, and I had a connection to him. So I called him up. I go, Buddy, I got to tell you this. And I go, I think it'd be a really funny song. So I told him, and he's like, damn it, because he's South African. He's from South Carolina. He goes, I've been writing country songs for 35 years. I never heard that one. You come over, we're writing that today. So we wrote that one today. So, and it's on my CD. So it was my latest CD, the Secondhand Saint one. But so I mean, you get like that. A lot of times, like there's some rock songs too, because I write in different genres. The one I call "I Was There for You." I have a good friend of mine who is a guitar player in some famous bands. I'll keep his name out of it, but he was involved in an accident. Not his fault. He was actually standing still, making a right turn, and this kid with a motorcycle came over going about 120 plus miles an hour, hit the front of his truck, and I mean he was decapitated, and he was
Yeah.
totally traumatized. Just as like
Sure.
now of course me as a flight medic, I saw that stuff all the time, but so I called him every day. We talk about it because I know that's part of the thing of like is the thing we used to do called critical incident stress debriefing, CISD, and when you see a really bad thing happening or like you need to talk about it, so the big thing is to talk about it, and I talk about it and like your feelings come out, and because he was like he was really having a bad time, but no, he's great now, but that was the song was for him, and I wrote that song. So you got stuff like that too. um there's a song called Hold On that I wrote. I don't know if you know, I lost my 18-year-old son in a car accident.
Oh no.
uh yeah this is 17 years ago. And what happened was, so this there's a song called Miracles, and I wrote this song with this guy Bruce Miller. So what ha so about 10 days after the funeral or life celebration, we went out and a single white flower was sitting, and we'd been in the house 12 years. We never saw that flower before. And it hadn't rained or anything. It was just, popped up in this like little the path where my dog used to run. It's like we're like, wow, that's like crazy. So we call it Trevor's flower. So a couple of days later, my wife went out and the original flower closed up, and there were five white flowers just like the first one. So she got to the phone and wanted to call me. And when she got to the phone rang. She picked it up, and it was the nurse from the organ donation. She said, "Hey, I just want to tell you that five lives were saved from your son's gift."
Wow.
I mean, like, yeah. So I mean, so we and we've had some other spiritual experiences with that whole thing. So I thought how beautiful that was, that um, God's love is just saying, "Hey, I'm there. Your son's here. We're going to show you something. Just going to show you. We're going to just take a couple flowers and show you that it's okay." So and then we were devastated, of course, with that, and but again, I can't tell you how many people I've met that have lost children. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the thing is, I find a lot of the siblings have a harder time than the parents. I mean, I've over and over again, like my two children had a really hard time with it. We went through some rough patches with them. They're all better now, but but they had a hard time, and so I mean it was a crazy time. But there's joy in the house again. You always have a hole there, but there's joy. Me and my wife, we're we've come to like this is the situation, and you can't be sad your whole life. You know what I mean? And we just know that someday we'll be together again. And so
Yeah.
we'll just have to wait our time. You know.
Yeah, that was interesting you said that because I never heard that before, and I'm going to talk to my brother about that because there was a brother that was like a year and a half, 2 years older than I did when he died.
Hmm.
He died, and so I
Right.
really don't really remember him, but I'm sure my older brother did because he would have been at least 7 years old or 8. So I'm going to find out. I'm just curious as to because he never talks about it. So I was just going
Well, that
to. So,
well, I lost a brother when I was 3.5. I had a 2-year-old brother, Kevin, and he was hit by a car, and he died. And so that had a lot to do with my addiction and anger, because I guess what happened was my parents, like, after it happened, because me and my brother used to play. I mean, we used to rock. We used to just rock. We take our cribs and we rock them, make them like a noise. And then my parents come in, we pretend we're asleep. and they go
Yeah.
like it's like a game. So and so what happened that when they put me somewhere, and then they took everything of Kevin's out of the house, everything, like everything he like that he
Sure.
had, his bed, his dresser, whatever. And I came home, and he was gone, and we never talked about it,
Yeah.
nothing. And that was 3.5. So you can't grieve at 3.5. There's and plus back then, there was grieving. What so so that and that's another one. But my brother Kevin, I think, has been my archangel, because there's some times that I shouldn't have been alive, but it's like somehow somehow I'm here. So I did some crazy stuff, but yeah. So I was a merchant marine for like three. I don't know if you got into that whole thing. I used to work as a merchant marine back when I was 19 and 21, and went all over, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all over Eastern Africa, and Trinidad, Tobago, Panama. So we did a lot of that traveling back then on tankers and cargo ships. And that was really an eye opener. You know what I mean? Because so you appreciate what you have when you go to those countries. You know what I
Amen
mean?
to
If you go to
that.
Bangladesh, you go,
Oh,
and I'm
is
not,
that not true?
you know.
Yeah. Even now they don't have it
Hmm.
much. But let me ask you about one of your songs. You have a song named American Made. Can you give us a little bit
Hmm.
of a background on that, real quickly? Because
Yeah,
we're
well,
gonna play it.
it's funny because that song was the song I figured when I finally wrote that song, because it's a huge crowd pleaser, every time I sing it, and I finally got it, like what they were talking about, like furniture in the room. What
Yeah.
we used to do is sometime, oh yeah, look at me. That's funny. They had but I tell people all this time like this. Listen, most people in America are good. Okay, most people, we're like sort of polarized right now with some of this crazy stuff. But most people, like, I'm going to tell you how many times that people do the right thing over and over and over again. And I've seen it so many times. Like when I was with at 9/11, these people were coming in, like, with these chefs coming and bringing food for the help, and they had like podiatrists, and they had people doing massages, and whatever anything could do to make the tough time there in Ground Zero, somewhat livable. And then like in Katrina, and like oh I was there to the Columbus Day parade in New York City when we were up there at Ground Zero. There was 900 people from Oregon that flew into New York. Now you think about the logistics of putting 900 people together, right? And
Yeah.
they came in there to support New York, and to listen. You're Americans. We love you. Your city got hit hard. We're gonna come. Now think about putting 900 people together, and they came and they marched with us in the parade. It was so cool. But you never heard about that. No one knows about that. I said that's incredible. And then like when Katrina, because it was a 2-day thing. We went to New Orleans, and they said, "Listen, we're going to send you to Austin, I mean San Antonio, to Kelly Air Force Base. We shipped 5,000 people there, and we have to go there and take care of them." So I said, "Okay." So so what happened was the um, this hotel we were at, because it was a 2-day trip. There was about 20 families there, and this guy said, "I will pay for all these families till they get a place to go with his visa, and pay for them all." No one heard about that either. I mean, like, I can tell you so many random. We're good, and like with Ian here, when they hit here, like where my daughter was, because her neighborhood was like ravaged, with that storm surge and friends, and so many people came out. Like there was like young groups of people coming to help people move their furniture out of the house, because it was it's all
Yep.
ruined, or hot meals, bringing food, water. So I mean, most of us are good. It seems like we always rally, like as Americans, we're always at our best when things are at our worst,
Yeah.
because our true nature comes out. We're nice. We want to do the right thing. So, I mean, so American Made to me is that's what it's all about. It's like the smoking pipes of a Harley and the rumble that they make. It's the laughter of a child or First July parade, right? You can see you're at a baseball diamond on a hot summer night. You got a hot dog and an ice cold beer, and you're singing the national anthem, and you're holding back a tear. And I mean, and everyone can see that. And that was the thing that made it to change, I think, for me. And when I sing that song, they go, "You get it. You can see the motorcycle, right? And you
Yeah.
can see a kid laughing at first, and and if you've been to a baseball diamond or a baseball game on a hot summer night, and you've got a beer and a hot dog, right? And the national anthem, I mean, there's times when I never forget when Whitney Houston sang the national anthem. You know, that made me cry. I mean, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
she totally brought it. And it did something to me, it changes me. And sometimes when I hear it, somebody sing it, like, you know, and I of course, I hate when I've sung it before, but I'm always scared of it because, you know, what if I mess up the words?
Yeah.
It's so funny because I'll sing 40 songs, no problem, the national anthem, but when somebody can sing it, really, it hits me right here in my heart. And so, but yeah, that was one of the songs that I think, and when I went and people, you know, really like that song. It's been cut by a few people, female and male, different. I've got about 45. I think about 40 or 45 people have cut my songs in the last couple, you know, years, stuff like that. So major like that and movies and stuff. But American Made was that was a huge that was the one that okay. I think I know what you guys are talking about up here now. You know, in Nashville,
Okay,
and that was a good
that's
thing.
good. Well, let's watch and listen to American Made by Tim McGeary.
Like the smoking pipes of a Harley and the rumble that they make. It's the laughter of a child, her first July parade. You got a baseball diamond on a summer night. You got a hot dog and an ice cold beer, and you're singing the national anthem, and you're holding back a tear. Yeah, it's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand. American made, yes I am, it's American made, oh yes we can. It's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand as Americans. The Depression didn't break us, our people held on strong. It taught us what was important, and sometimes we could be wrong. And the fathers that fought before us, and the sacrifice they made. There's an 18-year-old standing in the sand, and he's doing the very same. Yeah, it's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand. American made, yes I am. American made, oh yes we can. American made is tried and true. American made is me and you. It's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand. American. When the towers fell around us, we knew just what we had to do. One nation under God, one country for me and you. And we all cried for freedom, for what was right and what was true. And we all stood together, we were all red, white and blue. Yeah, it's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand. American made, yes I am. American made, oh yes we can. American made is tried and true. American made is me and you. It's what we do, it's who we are, it's where we stand as American. American made, American made.
Cool.
Oh,
Who are some of the artists? Who are some of the artists that have shared the stage with you?
well, I've been there's a guy named Gary Hannon. He wrote Tequila Makes Your Clothes Fall Off,
Mhm.
and some big hits. And so in the country world, I've done some shows with Gary and Daryl Worley and me. We do some show, which is great. An acoustic show is really fun. Richie McDonald from Lone Star. We did a bunch of shows with him. It was him. And of course, like it was always, yeah, Richie would sing, and they go, "Okay, Tim, you can sing after Richie." Like, because Richie McDonald he's got the best voice. Like, oh my God, so I got to follow him. But yeah, but we had a great time. It was like we wrote it like we did, like how they do like three people on stage.
Yeah.
We have like a round, so we played and we do that. Let's see, Dave Gibson,
Yeah.
Jazz Sanford, Win Varble, the guys from wait a minute, Little River Band. We did a thing with
Yeah.
them guys. It was really fun. So I was, so yeah, I mean, and it's funny because like, those guys had hit songs and no one knew my songs. But so what I used to do is I just like songs like American Made or like energy stuff, and it was like, so like I was like the energizer buddy. But like people like thinking, well, like you sort of held your own, which is like, it's hard with those guys, you know what I mean? Because these guys are like serious pros, but they taught me a lot, and I watch them, and that's why I tell these young guys, I go, if you get to see a show, like a professional, watch them, watch what they do, watch how they get the crowd involved, watch how they talk, watch how they do, because,
Mhm.
and then use something that they have, incorporate it. I know the other thing I always say is like every time you get the chance to play, you bring it 100%. I had this one time, my friend was there. He said, "Hey, I'm doing this open mic up, and I need somebody just to close out the show. Can you come up? We just do about five, maybe 6 or 7 songs. We'll close it out." And I went, "Okay." Well, I did 3 co-writes that day, so my brain was like, ask anybody who does co-writes. After 3 co-writes, you're like, oh, you're just like, like your
Brain
brain's
dead.
like brain dead. But I'm, if I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. So we go up there, we did our thing, people enjoyed it. We're getting off stage, and then as we're getting off stage, 7 women and a guy walk in. They go, "Hey, we really want to hear some music." And I'm like, oh man. So I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to go on the PA. I just want you just put your chairs in a circle, semicircle," and we played a bunch of songs. So we finished the songs, and I had 1 CD left, and I said, "Hey, I have the CD here. I'll just give it to you." And I said, "Thank you." She goes, and she goes, "Well, I didn't tell you, but I work for Luke Bryan, and I really like your stuff. So what song from the CD you want me to pitch to Luke?" And I'm like, whoa. So the moral of the story is when you get a chance to play, do it. Every time you do it, you bring it 100%. You know what I mean? Because you never know who's going to be in the audience. You don't know who you're going to play with, especially in Nashville.
That's
You could
right.
be in there and somebody comes in like, and I mean, I have a good friend with this guy, uh, Danny Knight, and his dad, Carl Knight, was like, he was in Mississippi, and Chet Atkins went down there, and it was in this town. And he asked the cab driver, "Does anybody play some good country music?" And I said, "Well, it's this guy Carl, Knight is down here." So I went to see him, and Chet Atkins goes, "Hey, why don't you come? You want to stay down in Mississippi and do this? You want to come to Nashville, make some real money?" So he takes him to Nashville, gets 16 cuts his first year,
Yeah.
and the rest is history. And they, he's good friends with Johnny Cash and that whole thing too. So
Yeah.
a lot of history there. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
like you say, but yeah, yeah. I guess it's the moral of the story. Just do your best all the time, and you never know who's going
Oh,
to be there.
I find the best thing is to not know who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't
Well,
know, that's been the best for me. Let me ask you, had a song
I gotta
called, I'm sorry.
go ahead. I was gonna say, whoever did that video you just did was like awesome. Did you do that? Did you put that together? That was great. The video for American
That's
Made.
yours. That was yours. I saw it on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, someone put it together. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen
I
it,
thought
but
you did it.
no. See, it's funny when you do these songs. We had like in the rescue and stuff. Somebody did a video for the song called "Tell Me Now" in Spanish, and like we're just And then I was in this band called Neighbors and Allies, and way before that, and this lady in France had done these videos of us, and we did like all of a sudden like, what's that Is that us? Like who did that? Like no one tells us. It just well, I don't know
Yeah,
who did that one, but I was like pretty cool. I'm like, whoa, that's okay. I'll have to
that's
check it.
well,
Yeah.
we're gonna do another one here. We're gonna do Wounded Man.
Oh,
Hopefully, I don't know if that's your video or not, but we're gonna be playing that. Can you give us real quickly? Tell us about that song before you
Yeah.
actually play it?
Well, yeah, I was we've been working with a lot of veterans, with the PTSD and stuff. And
Mhm.
Gary Hanna put this thing together. We do is like we talk to like a BFW, and they say, listen, and they have some guys that are having a tough time. So we said, okay, they pick them out, and so what they would do is um, they uh, they would pick guy, and we would put together a show, and then we collect money. And so but it was cool because like at the end of the show we just like hand them like $3,000, with no, you don't care what whatever you got to spend it on. You got to get your car fixed, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay bills. Here's
Mhm.
3 grand. And I think that the two things that happened was, the guy was like appreciative, like you got the money. But the big thing is like people said, we really respect you for your service, and we're not just talking about it. We're actually, giving you money because we respect what you did. Now this video here, this is this is these guys, we did this, and this is my friend, the producer of that record, the guitar player, the one playing the leads and the slide. And Sheena Brooke is a friend of mine. She's a great songwriter herself and artist, phenomenal. And I asked her to come to sing some harmonies with me, and she did. And so yeah, this is fun. This is, and this is one of my songs. But it's funny because I was playing this riff in the kitchen. My wife is she she's very like, if she doesn't like him, he goes like, "You can stop playing. That song's stupid." she's like, she's like, she's like, boom. But she said, "This God playing." She's like, "I really like that riff. And keep it going." And I had this thing of Wounded Man. You know what I mean? So my friend Corey Barker, who was another phenomenal songwriter, lyricist and stuff, up in Nashville. I write a lot of songs with him, and I gave him the idea, and we put this together, and it seems to be one of the people that this getting played a lot around the country, that an American made.
Okay, well, let's listen to Wounded Man by Tim
Okay.
McGeary.
Sugar Shock Sessions, yeah.
Thought his love could make her stay, but fate had other plans that day. Forever held her in his hand, forever left him a wounded man. A wounded man. Charred heart and black as coal, scorched his pride and burned his soul. Never had a snowball's chance, such was the life of a wounded man. A wounded man. Never met a man so unblessed, buried deep in deep regret, living in a broken promised land. Oh Lord, have mercy on a wounded man. His old man lived by the gun. He was shot by the sheriff down in 91. Way too young to understand. Left his son a wounded man. A wounded man. Mama was an eggshell ready to fall. They found her one day in a bathroom stall. Blood on the floor, a knife in her hand. Left her son a wounded man. A wounded man. Never met a man so unblessed, buried deep in deep regret, living in a broken, a promised land. Oh Lord, have mercy on a wounded man. Laid him down in a box of pine. No one came and no one cried. Angels came and took his hand, welcomed home a wounded man.
peace at last.
I want to make sure we get
Okay.
the advertisement in there too.
Yeah, Sugar Shack Sessions. It was pretty cool. There was the young guys, and they actually they recorded like the sound and thing with the video, and there's some really good microphones, and I mean it sounded really good. And of course Ray, the guitar player and producer, is like he's a phenomenal guitar player, like
Yeah.
off the charts. And Sheena is like a great guitar player and singer herself, so it's just great. And it was just, and all three of us, and just this nice blend there and stuff. So I was so fortunate to get those two guys together with me to sing that song. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
the live version was very good. That's why I made sure to play it. Now let me ask this because we're kind of running a little late on time here. But how can our listening audience find out more about Tim McGeary and maybe how to listen to more of your music and stuff?
Well, I have a YouTube channel, Tim McGeary on YouTube. Go there. Tim McGeary Music on Facebook. Tim McGeary. I'm on Instagram. I'm doing a little TikTok stuff, but I don't have much time for that. But and pretty much those things. And on timmcgeary.com, I will say that social media is an important part right now of music. You know what I mean? And but the reality is, for me, I'm in the studio, like I'm always six projects in at one time, so I'm always like working. Like, as my wife can tell you, you're always in the studio. But but I do a lot of stuff, and so it's hard for me to do the social media like I probably should. You know what I mean? But if anybody goes to timmcgeary.com, it's just timmcgeary.com, and leave me a message, okay? And just say, hey, and I saw your thing. I'd like to, do a house concert, or just want to, say hi. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll send them MP3s of new music, things that I'm doing, so they can hear what's going on. I'm putting together. I have a couple songs called "The Highway," "Lucky to Find Love Again." Um, Another one, "All I Can Do Is Pray." These three songs I have to get done, and I'm gonna put my new, more like Americana country album out, or like EP out, and it's gonna come out like in probably about 3 months. So I'm working on that, and but when I get these things, I'll send you an MP3, just of the newest stuff I do, and I'll definitely send one to you so you can hear what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So okay,
Huh?
and
Well,
and
great.
so, but no, yeah, just like that, Tim McGeary Music on Facebook. I check the page out. People, message me, like I'm gonna do on this Saturday. There's a thing called the Music Club. It's a Facebook, you know, on Facebook group, and they're for friends of mine, and so I'm gonna do a show with them, So a Saturday night, it'll be 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, okay, and I'm gonna go on for about an hour, and I'm gonna play live, and I do that with a bunch of giving gigs. That one, I do one called Music for Scotland. When I do that one, I get anywhere from 5 to 13,000 people watch it. It's crazy all over the world. It's like
Huh.
so much fun because I get these things. Hey, I'm from Chile. Oh, I'm from New Zealand. I'm from
Yeah.
China. It's like what? Like I mean, from everywhere. It's just like, and so that's so so much fun. So I do a lot of house concerts, by the way. So that's another thing with if anybody wants me to like to come up, what we usually do is you have, and people love it. Everyone brings food in, so it's like, big, potluck kind of deal. Usually it's about $20 a head, so it's like, and I do a concert in your house, and I set up, and people love it, because I talk to them like we're talking. I tell them about the songs, where I got the, where the songs came from, that kind of stuff. Have them sing along. I have, one called Three Shots of Whiskey, and everyone sings Two Shots of Gin. It's like, yeah, and it's really fun. So if anybody wants to do that, timmcgeary.com. Hey, Tim, I'm in Florida. Can you come into the house? And I'm glad to come up.
Okay, well, great. Well, the Nashville Broadcasting Network wants to thank you for taking so much of your time to
Oh,
to
thank you so
speak with
much.
us.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope I didn't talk too much. I'm a sort of a talker, so.
Really?
But yeah, thank you so much, Fran. So nice meeting you too. And and if you come by my way, make sure just say hi. Me and my wife come over, we'll do some dinner or something. And if I go to Nashville, I'll say, hey, I'm gonna be playing at this place, and maybe we'll get together and watch us.
Sure
Okay.
will. Okay, thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you so much.